So, hello and welcome. This is one of my 60 conversations for my 60th birthday, my 60 inspirational conversations. And this morning, I have got the pleasure of speaking with Matt Evans. We've been bantering a little bit backwards and forwards because of this. I was born and raised in Coventry. Matt is from Birmingham, where we're going to be talking about the event. We're going to be talking about everything that's going on with Matt. So, there's a little bit of a Birmingham city. No, you're not a Birmingham city. That's my other half is a Birmingham city. So there's definitely some football team rivalry going on here, a little bit of banter backwards and forwards. But we're going to put that aside for the amazing event. It's all over Matt's screens there that he is putting on, and I'm sure we're going to talk about that. So, Matt, do you want to tell us a little bit about who you are, what you're up to, why we're having this amazing conversation?
So hello, and no, I'm not dropping the football banter ever.
Put
And
it aside just for a
uh,
minute while we no, okay, whatever.
okay, it just made me think when you said about some things that aren't repeatable. There is a song about my old man's a Blues City fan,
Oh,
and
well, I've got
actually,
one about Villa, actually.
yeah,
You've probably heard that one as well.
my old man actually was a blue nose, so I have to live with that. But anyway, who am I? There's always a good question. Who am I? As the
Ooh.
Steve Hardison work continues, that is always the question.
I mean,
Who am I and who
feel
am I
free,
being?
yeah, feel free to share some of your document as who you are.
Oh God. Let's go a little bit back. Who am I? So I'm a guy who spent 25 years in a career of supply chain and operations. That's been my vocation. And yeah, I've always had a kind of coaching side to it. I've always enjoyed working with people. People make the world go round, not money.
People are good, aren't they? People are fun,
Yeah.
interesting.
Well, and that's the thing. People always get a bad rap. We always hear the bad about people, and actually, there's so
Mm.
much more good out there that we don't hear about.
Oh my gosh, there really is.
Um, so yeah, I've always had this kind of work thing of making stuff, and I've always had a very hefty interest in the people, and they're the people who actually make it all happen. And it's kind of led me down this path after 4 years ago, going through an entire, let's say, shitstorm and life change all in one go.
As we do.
As you do, and it kind of really brought me into the whole world of coaching, which is where I am now. So yeah, as anyone who knows me from any social media, if there's anyone who kind of has got any cross links, the whole thing of me getting into coaching was all around I had an absolute mental health crisis. I was the poster boy for bad men's mental health. Good job, good car, nice house, beautiful wife, kids, everything else, all hunky dory, solve everyone else's problems. And yet I was completely ruined internally.
Mm.
As we know, a lot of guys actually are. Guys don't have problems. We fix everyone else's problems and we don't ever sort ourselves out. So that whole shake up one night in a police cell started the whole thing of never drinking again and changing my entire outlook on everything. So yeah, that's kind of the quick intro. And I also run amazing charity events for people that are interested in personal development and transforming them and their lives. Hence the Birmingham thing that is going on at the minute. So yeah, 2 years ago we ran the Ultimate Experience in London, a team of us that I was kind of the project manager for, and this year we're running another one at Aston Villa Football Club in May. So yeah, that's where the banner in the background comes from. It is 2 days of just incredible speakers, people who have done the work themselves, people who have been absolutely so deep into their own development and sharing it with others that they are truly inspirational. It is 2 days that I just am gobsmacked that we've managed to get effectively. They're
Wow.
all brilliant.
Okay, so I actually have got my ticket to come to this event. I am going to be there for the 2 days. I'm going to come to the Villa Ground. I mean, it's got to be good if I'm coming to the Villa Ground. My partner bought my ticket for me, and he is a blue nose, and yeah, so absolutely. So I'm coming to this event, but imagine that I wasn't, and I didn't really know what it was about, and I didn't really know why it would be a good idea for me to be in that room. Why would I want to put my money and my time and my effort, do this? Why would I want to come to this event?
Being in that room for 2 days, you will hear so many stories, inspirational points, hits. You'll hear about ideas, you'll hear about ways of being that for anyone who sits there and hears it and goes, oh, that's for them, actually no, it's for you. The whole notion of this entire 2 days is about hearing the possibility of what you can be, because you can do anything that those people on stage can do. You can do anything that, you know, the people in the room can do. There'll be conversations going on with people who aren't on stage that are just as important and just as life-changing, because it's all about the possibility of who you can be. And most people, they play down who they can be. You know, and especially for anyone who's in a British audience, we're really good at this. We're humble, we're meek, you know, we don't want to stand out, and we can't do those things because we kind of diminish ourselves to the lowest level, you know, common denominator. And you're going to hear that you don't have to do that. You can be different, you can stand out, and it's not a bad thing. You can do amazing things, and you can hear this from all the people that are going to be there on stage and around you for who you can be. So it's not anything about what they do, it's about what you can do, and all that comes from who you're being.
So tell me a little bit more about that, about being who you are being. What difference does that make?
So I always say there's been two changes in my life. The first one was when I stopped drinking. That was a huge change. That did change my life.
Yeah.
The second time my life changed was when I was sent a copy of The Ultimate Coach. A friend of mine who I talked to about the kind of drink and the alcohol side of things, she said to me, you need to read this book. And everything in it about the concept of who you are being just resonated so deeply with me, because I recognized so many points about where I was judging myself, who I had been in my past, who I was being at that moment, and who I wanted to be in the future. And it really set me up for a complete second change for who I was. And it really did shock me almost to my core about how much I'd hidden, how much I'd always wanted to do more, and I'd always wanted to play bigger. And when I played a bit of a bigger game, it felt really uncomfortable. I've always done well, I've always put myself out there, but it was always from a point of, I shouldn't be doing this, and I know it. It's going to get me into trouble at some point. You know, it was always like I was the naughty school kid, because I was trying to play that bigger game and stand up. And it let me go with all that story. I could be brilliant in whatever I choose to be. I could create amazing things, and I shouldn't be ashamed of standing out for it. And that happened in my work, it happened at home. You know, it changed all sorts of the different areas of my life, you know, my relationship, my kids, even, you know, the notion of who you are being with children is so important. I mean, my daughter's got you know, she's, as part of the event, it's all in there about my daughter's profoundly deaf, and with that she's also got some learning disabilities as well, you know, neurodiversity type things. And it, you know, it makes, let's say, life hard. And I know everyone can go, oh, it's what you make of it and it's how you see it. We all know what we mean. You know, there is some moments in there when you've got a kid that's having a complete meltdown. They can't regulate themselves. They're screaming, shouting, you know, all this kind of stuff. And it drove me to the point of it, well, this led me to the point of, who am I being as a parent, you know? And that statement of the, I am the most fun-loving and compassionate parent, you know, that it gives you everything as a grounding to say where you're coming from in every single moment. And and just that example over the last 2 years has changed so much my relationship with my daughter.
Mhm.
So that whole concept of who you are, that's just one side of it. It's changed so much. One of the other things, about I'm worthy of love and always, I always used to have this concept that I wasn't. Throughout my childhood, I'd had a lot of issues where, I was told that I was trouble and I was this, I was that, and there'd been a lot of stuff go on. And yeah, I'd got this kind of whole story in myself of, because of my past, I'm not worthy of having that. I'm always going to be this person that's, caused a bit of trouble, caused a bit of mayhem, and I'm always going to have to carry that with me. No, took the whole lot away. Really took it away. And it's like I say to people, it's taken that backpack off. I was carrying around a really big, heavy rucksack full of all my own judgments and full of all of everyone else's judgments of who I was and their stories and my stories. And it's like, oh, no, take that off, drop it down, go. You don't need to carry that.
So what do you think is the magic ingredient, if you like,
Ooh.
of of that? Because we all we all have our stories, and we all
Mm-hmm.
have, I don't think there will be anyone who, whether they watch this, I don't think there'll be anyone in the world who will not have a, I was, told this when I was young, or I heard this when I was young, or whatever, and I've carried that with me, and
Yeah.
we can see these things that we carry with us affect how we show up. Like when you're sort of saying that, about being afraid of being seen or hiding, or what will other people, I mean, I think what will other people think in some form or another is literally like a mountain in most people's lives, whether they know it or not. So what is so special about, you made some statements there about yourself, about who, that beautiful one about how being a parent, a fun-loving parent. What made that make such a difference for you? What is so special about that?
It was about replacing the previous thoughts of who I was and the previous story.
Okay.
What made it so special was the difference it made in the relationship. Who I was being previously was reactive and quite hot-headed. And, I was living in that, you shouldn't do that. I was really kind of, you know, my kids shouldn't be doing this, and that's not the way you want it to be. And I was arguing with the world. And yet having that change of understanding who I am and how I then put that story out into the world of who I am and who I'm being changed the whole lens that I look through it. It doesn't matter what they do, because if I'm being loving and compassionate, it doesn't matter what they do. That is who I am, regardless. And it puts that rock steady kind of steadfast notion that this is who you are, regardless of whatever is going on. It's a grounding and a center that you come from at all times. And when you know that is who you are, everything else outside doesn't shake you.
So this event and these few days, are we going to, like, do you just pluck those statements out of the air? Do how did you come to that conclusion that that one was going to change? And how is it, like, it'd be all very well if I said, oh yeah, I'm just going to be different, and then I go off and I try, and I'm not, the same,
Yeah.
I see the same behaviors or anything. What about this event and these few days, and how you're doing this? What's so amazing and brilliant about that?
So actually, what we've got across the 2 days is we've got a couple of sessions that are being led by Fiona Ross and Dave Orton. And they are absolute masters of helping people understand the negative thoughts that they have about themselves and how you go around that whole cycle of forgiving yourself, getting over those previous stories. The story that you tell yourself is the most important one. They're both amazing at going through that and just getting shot of it to give you the space to create the new story. As one of the famous phrases is by Steve Hardison, you can't put frosting on a dog poop. And you know what? If you still believe that you're, X, Y, and Z, a hothead, you can't be loving, you can't do this. If you still believe that at your core, no matter what you have as some form of positive affirmation after it, it's just a cover up.
Mm.
And so getting rid of the story in the first place is the important bit. And that's why at the event, as much as you're going to hear all these amazing people who have kind of gone through these transformations, done this work, understand it deeply, and can put it out there, we've got a couple of sessions that are going to be about what really are the stories that you still tell yourself. What are the ones that you really struggle with? And they're going to be talking through it, guiding people. And we are talking about whether we even have one or two people on stage and go through it.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Because I think that's the thing, isn't it? It like you said, the whole you can't put frosting on dog poo. We do, yeah, there is a looking. We are, I mean, I think the way that we operate as human beings, it is both incredibly simple and incredibly complex in equal measure. It's like what we can change, what we can do, what we are capable of. And I think, I love at the beginning of this conversation when you're sort of saying you'll be hearing all of these people saying what they have achieved and actually think, yeah, you can achieve that too. But for the story that you run that says you don't, you can achieve your equivalent. I mean, it might not be, but me and you are very different people, and I'm sure out in the world we would want to achieve different things, which is right. That's right. But it's, we all have ideas of what we want to do in the world and things. We go about our lives and we think, oh, that would be better if it wasn't like that, and wouldn't it be great if people did this, and wouldn't it be fantastic? And to me, it doesn't look like it's a mistake that we have those ideas, that they're like little acorns that land in our mind. And yeah, so part of what you're doing for me is, wouldn't it be amazing if the people that had these ideas knew that they could bring these ideas to fruition too? That, if that idea lands in their head, they have the wherewithal to do that.
The best phrase that I love about all that is that I even had this with someone a couple of weeks ago. We were just having a chat, and I said to her about, putting her story out there. She's got a lot of, inspirational things that have happened in her life, and she diminished it. And she was like, I shouldn't tell anyone, and it makes it icky and all this. And I was like, look, you can tell a lot of people. There's a lot of people out there with a similar situation to you. I said, if not me, then who? When you get that thought, if you don't do it, who's going to? Because so many people are still scared to actually stick their head above or do something that is different, or, go for it. It doesn't matter what it is effectively. It doesn't have to be starting the world's most incredible, profitable company, or, doing the most extreme challenge in the world, or, it doesn't have to be these magnitude things that if it's not worth doing unless it's something that's going to put me in the Guinness Book of Records. It's just about doing what you want to do, and if it's valuable to you. And the Rick Rubin book, The Creative Act, is great for this, because it talks about from like a form of being an artist. And it says, you create music for you because you want to create it and then just put it into the world. It doesn't matter if everyone loves it or hates it. You do it for you. And, a bit like this event, I mean, this started a couple of years ago. I had Rag, Fee, Kush for dinner at my house after London, and we were still talking, and we started getting this has got so much to give as a concept. It's such a good concept. We need to do more with it. And it just ended up being one of those buttons that we pushed. And it was, if not us, then who? It just put it out there. Just go for it. It doesn't matter about the size and the scale.
Yeah, and that again, you could see is another story that we run. Like I can see, like I bought a small building plot, and I'm building a home physically building a home, me
Mm.
and my partner, that's what we're
Yeah.
doing. And I know, like I've been in a couple of groups where people are talking about creation and what they're doing, you know, and they go around the room and sort of saying, what are you inspired to do? I know some people was like, oh, I'm really inspired to create peace in the Middle East, you know, and I'm like, I'm building a home. And it can almost feel like I don't want to share what it is that I have been called to do.
Mm.
But what I can see is for a very, very long time, I had this idea that I wanted to build my own home.
Mm.
I wanted to do that. And it's like, great, then do that. Don't try. You know, I've never been pulled to create peace in the Middle East. Now it's a brilliant thing, and don't get, you know, it's not, but I have been time and time again, little things have pulled me towards, I want to build my own home. I want to do this. And so to me, a part of this is acknowledging, like you say, it doesn't matter what it is, because part of my not coming out and saying about that was because, well, that doesn't feel grand and amazing and brilliant, and you know, the first few times I talked about it, someone sort of said, oh, are you going to have places where people can come for a retreat center? And no, it's my home. No, this is my home. I want it to be for me and my partner. I want it to be our home. And it's like, you know, and there's nothing, it feels very, very, very grand to me, but this whole thing of, yeah, owning what it is. And I've
Yeah.
really, really seen the learning for me in all of that, in all around the learning that I've had, just just getting to a point where we could buy the land, the learning of this, and totally owning, yeah, this is what I want to do, and this is my magnificent at the moment. And who knows, you know, I do lots of other things and share about it, but it's like, it's not about how grand it is. It's about what makes you feel alive. What is it that you want to do?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you know, you're my hero here. I'd love to build my own house. Apart from me and my wife could never do it. We'd never agree on a style. I'd want one thing, she'd want the other. We'd have to have like two halves. It'd be like what's the in Barcelona, the cathedral, front end, back end. Don't look anything alike. That would be our house. But yeah, you know, and this is interesting because this point, you know, Birmingham, the event, we went massive. We went huge. You know, we were talking with the ICC to get in there, and it was 1,500 people, and people were like, "You're mad." Yep, because it's what we really wanted to go after. You know, we had a vision for it, we had a dream for it, we knew it could impact a lot of people's lives if we could get it to work, and we took that shot. And it didn't work. And that's really there's such a huge lesson that spit it out. There's such a huge lesson in there that I got through that was like, it doesn't make you less worthy because something didn't work either. You know, we all hear the success stories. We all hear the, you know, I did this, I did that, and look at me, it's all great. You never see the failures. You never see, well, okay, there's an interesting word, failure. You never see the lessons, let's say. You don't see the things that people go through to get to where they've got. You always see the end bit. And it was a huge lesson, massive lesson in event management and event organization and all this kind of thing. But as someone said to me that I deeply respect, he said, you went when no one else had the balls to go. And he said, it's not about you. It's not about your worth. It's not anything to do with you. You know, this is a guy who, believe me, is one of our speakers, and he's incredible. You know, the stuff he's done. And he gave me a few examples that were like on a mad scale of where things hadn't worked for them. And it made me go, ooh. And it is, okay, dust yourself down, and now what?
I think it's really, really good, I think, as well, to see this. And to me, it's part and parcel and testament to what this is, because yeah, things aren't always going to work out the way that we think they should, that we want them to. And the
Yeah.
part of it is, to me, the whole, if you coming back and, okay, speaking to me on this interview, still being out there, still talking about the amazingness of this event, still doing this, is testament to what your I am statements mean to you, what your document means to you, because it in these moments it would be incredibly easy, like, and that to me is what going through, like the drinking stuff, all of it, we go through, and we've, like, as I said, we all have stories and we all have stuff that we've been through. And what story do we create about that afterwards? And really, like you're saying, okay, you could have created the story, well, I'm a failure, this doesn't work, I'm going to look stupid, how am I going to hold my head up now, how am I going to tell people who have bought tickets, how am I going to tell them that the venue has changed, blah 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 blah, I failed, this didn't, blah, 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 whatever it was. And I am guessing there was quite an invitation within you to do that, to go to those places and to sort of and be that. And I think a part of this is to say, no, that's not who I'm creating myself as, that's not who I am being. And to see it differently, and stand up and go, yeah, okay, this is what I tried to do, didn't work, so this is what we're doing, moving on.
Yeah, and you know what? I mean, last year when all the kind of venue shift was happening, I mean, I'm in a kind of transition. I've just moved over to coaching kind of far more now. But I had a double whammy. I had everything going on with the venue, and I was put out of work as well last year. So I was headhunted into a huge job that was like, most people would have been in that job and going, great, I've made it, big 6-figure job, everything's hunky-dory, off to New York, it's awesome. And then 10 weeks later, I was out of it.
Wow.
And it was like December was just chaos. And yet there was a period of reflection. There was a period of, okay, this is an awful lot going on. And yet the work that I've done for the previous couple of years around who I am, like I say, it comes back to anchoring you and knowing that your worth isn't about, a job title. Your worth isn't about your bank balance and what you earn. Your worth isn't about the number of people that you put in a room. Your worth is about how you show up every day for yourself and those around you, and what you create from that point. And it was a really good invitation, let's say, and challenge to go, have you really got it or not?
Yeah.
And I kind of like to think that I came through that pretty well. And yeah, the whole notion of who you're being, it's whether you can be you when the shit's hitting the fan. When it's all right, everybody can be this great, happy person, loving person, and everything else when it's all going well.
Mm.
But who are you when it doesn't go according to plan? Now, there's a whole notion about going to plan as well.
You can go all down also.
Yeah, don't get attached and, attachment to outcomes and all that. There's a whole thing there. But no matter what, things happen in life that are going to give you a real knock sideways. And actually, it's about how you get yourself back up. And it might not be going on the same course either. You might not be going in the same direction you were going before. And yet there's always something ahead of you that you can get into and actually make the best of. And, that's where we've been, especially the last few months, with things went massively sideways and we've gone in a very different direction. If you've got people who truly believe in the things like how the universe gives us everything, Villa Park was always the first choice in my head when we first talked about anything a couple of years ago in the Midlands, which is kind of ironic, but yeah, and it's about keeping going, keeping smiling, and coming from service. This will still be an amazing, incredible event. We're still going to have a room full of people. It's just not as big at the same place. It's different and it's still damn perfect. We've still got the same speakers. In fact, we've got more. We've added since. So
What I love about that, when I, more and more and more I see we get given what we are truly asking for. And so in some sense, like there was a knowing in you, this is a Villa Park thing, this is what it is. And then there was some learning. That's how I see it. This is how I look at it. It's like, oh, because I can see the things that go on for me in my life, and it's like, yeah, I don't need that. But it's almost like, actually, that was some really, really precious learning for, I've seen that for myself. I probably wouldn't have, and I'm sure, you're sitting there and you probably wouldn't have chosen for it to go sideways and chosen what happened with your job and what. But I, again and again and again, and I know, like, through the work that I do, the coaching and the work that I do, at some point you come to that place of, wow, I actually wouldn't change that, because that really showed me something, helped me grow, did. And like we're saying here, yeah, this was okay, are you truly that document that you say you are? Are you that person? Or when you get walloped sideways like this, do you turn out to be someone else? Is this at your core? Is this who you are going to show up as? And it's those difficult moments where we really see the juice in this. Because like you say, if this is just about skipping along and saying, oh yes, I'm this merry and bright person while the sun is shining, everybody loves me, I'm in the park, it's all great. But yeah, when it's not going like that, can you still be who you declare yourself to be?
just for the record, right? If I've asked the universe for all this good stuff, right? Done the crappy parts. Now, can I learn how to deal with a multi-million-pound bank balance? That's my next ask.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Yeah, let's work that out together, shall we? That'd be really, really great.
Game on.
Yeah, absolutely. We can always, compare notes when it gets a little bit too much with this multi-millions that we've both got. What do we do with it? What would be a great way to use it? Yeah.
Yeah. I can take those lessons all day long. Bring them on.
It is interesting though, isn't it? Because even with things like that, they are lessons for us, aren't they? Definitely I will look and think, wow, if you actually had some of those things, when you see people that have things, you think, genuinely, what would you do in that situation? Like when we see world leaders, it's very easy, leaders in anything really. I run an annual conference in Devon, and so I have the whole getting people in the room talking about the event, exactly the same thing that you're doing here, and it's not a dissimilar event in many, many ways. And then it is, it really teaches you about who you are being and what is going on for you when you do these things, when you have to show up and talk about these things and create them. And it is very easy to look at people leading things, and when you're not involved at all, to look and think, oh, you could do better here and here and here and here, and then actually be in that role as a leader, as you are at this event. You are in the role of that leader, to actually, bring those things into, okay, how do I do this? How do I lead this with integrity, with love, with truth, with all of those things?
I must say, I am just so grateful to the team I've got around me, because they put up with me and all my craziness, how I show up as a leader. I have many a crazy idea. I am sporadic and I am a slight maverick. So yeah, it's always an interesting one, how you show up as a leader.
I think you kind of have to be, to pull these kinds of things off. I don't think, I think you have to have a little bit of a crazy streak to pull these things off, to even sort of.
Yeah, absolutely. It helps. And yet it's one of those things that the more you do it, it's like a muscle. The more you work this out, the more it just happens to work out for you. And if you'd said to me a few years ago, you're going to be running a couple of events that are going to be, a few hundred people, world-class speakers, and it's going to be in the world of changing people's lives, proper transformational work, I would have gone, what? I'd done supplier conferences and things like that, but actually, when you say about it being crazy, it's stupid because now, if someone said to me about doing another one, as much as my wife might kill me, I'd be like, okay, been there, done that. It does set a new bar. It's that floor ceiling approach. The floor, I looked up and I was like, who am I to do that? Now, that ceiling,
Is the
I'm stood on it. I've
Mm.
done two of these things. I've been to some incredible people. I've literally had them on the phone and said, I want you to come here and I want you to do this for free. It's quite a ballsy ask for some people.
It does grow you, doesn't it?
Oh God, yeah. You
The way that you have
become
yeah.
far more fearless about getting a no.
Mm. Are you speaking at this event? Are you one of the speakers? Is that a secret?
I will obviously have a few kind of bits around, but I'm yet decided.
If you were going to speak, what would you be speaking about?
I see. This is really interesting. That is a really interesting bit of a conversation, this, because I've probably had 5 or 6 people give me 5 or 6 different versions of, you've got such a story, you should tell it. For me, I've got the story about who I was and who I became with the whole change in my life around alcohol.
Mm.
I've got the story that went from, my wife was talking to divorce lawyers to we renewed our vows last year on the beach in Florida, and had our third little bundle of terror in between it all. He came about as a result of the changes that, happened in me and our relationship and everything else. He wouldn't be here if nothing had changed. That is truly a creation of a little miracle. There's the story about running events, how who I was and who I've been in the whole event management and even creating the story about everything that went on, going through it, everything that's happened with, my job and the change in venue and
Yeah.
so everyone's got an opinion on if I speak what I should speak about as well. So it's really interesting. I genuinely I'm not particularly intending to speak because I don't want it to be a look at me roadshow. I've always had this notion. These events, they're not about the person organizing them. They're not about me. It's about the people in the room, serving the people in the room, creating a big swathe of money if we can for charity, having literally the best experience possible for people there, the most transformational information, the most impressive speakers that you can take the most from, and giving the money away. That's all I care about. For me, it's not about being on stage and all that. Yes, I could add a massive amount of value. I know that. I've got a story. I've got probably 4 or 5 stories that I could tell on the subject of who I've been and what there is as a possibility for people. And I'm still undecided. I'll be on there at some point in some capacity. I have no doubt. I've got an amazing team. I have to say thank you and drag them on stage for. I'm only part of it. I've got the most brilliant team: Rose Latham, Andreas Buren, Cassie Footman, Angie Scott. All these people who have supported me and Fiona from day one. They've been amazing for us, and they've been consistent. So again, not about me, about them.
But even when it's not about you, part of it not being, I mean, I speak or don't speak, but it's like either way, isn't it? It's kind of, it's not about any of the speakers really, is it?
No, it's about what
Like
people
you,
take from it.
yeah, like you say, it's about the people in the room, and it is about, and I've really, a huge shift in me, I think, has been about seeing the power being in the listener and the power and how important that is. And
Yeah.
so in one sense, it kind of, you can see it on both sides. It's irrelevant whether you speak or whether you don't speak, and it's not better. Or we tend to with all of these things, like I said about the dream that I have, it's very, very easy to, we get into judgment with all of these things, don't we? Oh, I'm better if I do speak, I'm better if I don't speak, and all this stuff. And it's seeing, do you know what? You'll add value if you do speak. There'll be enormous value if you don't speak.
Yeah.
So whatever comes about is equally beautiful either way.
Yeah, I mean, me being silent's quite a strange thing. So
Yeah. I'm running a silent retreat next weekend, and I'm going to be silent. And everyone's going to me, "You're doing what now? You're doing what?"
no, not happening.
There is real beauty in silence as well.
I'm waiting, I'm just waiting to see what tricks the AV guys play on me this time, because last time I actually went on stage in London and didn't say a word.
See, there you go. You can be silent.
Yeah. I was quiet in London, so I went on stage, didn't say a word. But what they did do is they played the Avengers music as I walked up on stage, and I was like, "Oh, you gits," because I'd got my Tony Stark sunglasses on. So yeah, we have a really good AV crew. The guys who did the AV for London, we've got them coming back and doing the Birmingham event, and they've given us a whopping, discount because it's all for charity. They're in for it. They're a good bunch of guys. So I've got the same crew working with me.
Brilliant. So what are some of the speakers? Do you know what they're going to be speaking about? Do you know what's going to be shared in that room? Do you know some of the stuff that's going to go on there?
I know everything.
Well, of course you do.
Anyone who's done Landmark is now just blowing their mind. No, you know nothing.
You know nothing. Equally, we know everything and nothing. That's the thing of living in duality. Both things are equally true at the same time.
I know everything that I know, and then what I don't know. But okay, so I mean the speaker lineup is amazing. So we've got Sanyika coming over from America. He's going to be on stage. If you listen to him and his BU track, it is phenomenal. Hearing that live, I will probably be in tears at the back of the room. We've got Fiona and Dave that we talked about doing the whole forgiveness and the creation part. Really, really intriguing couple of sessions from them too. We've got Kush, Ankush Jain. I mean, he's worked with Steve now for a year. He's had some phenomenal shifts himself, and he's just a powerhouse. When you talk about who you are being, just in the purest sense, he's brilliant. Lindsay Capp, she's amazing. Lindsay, she's from an emotional intelligence background. She'd worked with JP Morgan, and she's going to be talking about, beyond what you can see and being in trust and being in trust with yourself. Caroline, she's going to be talking about being in leadership and, not just being in a boardroom. It's going to be about being in leadership and with yourself. We've got Dominic London. He's talking about how you listen and how you create your world from that. We've got Jackie Moses. She did a masterclass the other day. She's just brilliant. She's going to be talking about being and who you are being, really pure. We've got Chris Smith. Chris is, I'm not sure, we've not finalized Chris. What he did in Arizona was very much family orientated, and he talks about what the world of possibility is like. When you hear Chris talk about possibility, he just goes, he can fire you up like I've never known other people. Being on Zoom calls with him, he just makes you go, wow. He's just a bundle of energy. Martine, she was one of our master classes and talking about being in grace. She's just something else. When you listen to her voice, it just is wow. I cannot describe the feeling that you get listening to her. We've got Karan Rai. Guy's a machine. He's got stories galore about who he has been, over the last few years, building businesses, doing marathons around the world in different continents, and even when injured, who he is. Wow. And if anyone wants the video of that, they can find the video from what he did for us in London. That's on our YouTube channel. It's on my favorites. We've got Gary and Rag. So Gary Marler's coming over from Japan with Ragav, and they're going to be talking about being and forgiveness themselves, and just what was the one that Gary was saying? I'll have to double check the Gary one, but it's like being at ease.
Okay.
Gary is this very quiet, very calm, very loving guy. And again, just the aura he gives off. I mean, I'm not one who talks about auras normally, believe me. You know, I'm a hardline engineering supply chain guy. But yeah, he
We're spiritual beings, you can't get away from it.
I know, I
We're
know.
energetic.
Who am I? But yeah, you know, Gary's one of these people who just gives off this aura of pure calm and love. He's brilliant. We've got Becky Robbins. She's talking about justice, personal justice, and what that means, and injustice, and how you get over that, and your own, you know, your own idea of what is just, and how you release it and forgive yourself for it. And yeah, and then we're going to have a little bit from Birmingham Children's Hospital as well.
Oh, wow.
So we've got someone coming from Birmingham Children's Hospital to talk about the work that they do and everything, because that's where the money's going. So every ticket that we sell, all the profits go straight over to the cochlear implant team and what they want to do with it. So that is the lineup. There is one more that is under agreement. And in the absence of my lawyer, I'm not allowed to say who it is. I have an agreement that there will be someone else on that stage, and
Okay.
I am also not allowed to say. But
Is it going to be exciting?
you know what?
Mm.
Yes.
Cool. Cool.
But yeah, it's going to be great. And actually, I've done someone a huge injustice because I actually deliberately left him out of my list until last. We've got Nick Smith. So Nick Smith is a guy who runs the whole Giants and Smalls community.
Ah,
And
yes.
he's going to be almost hosting, emceeing the day. Nick's done all our interviews. He's hosted and been like the guy for doing all our masterclasses.
Oh,
And he is just the most incredible guy for interviewing people. So we were like, there's continuity, and because he's just literally the best there is at it, he's hosting the day.
oh, wow.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm really looking forward to that because there's no one better for that job.
Well, I am really, really, really excited about this, really excited about joining you in the room and seeing what comes from it. So if anyone they've watched this, they've enjoyed it, if they want to get a ticket, want to find out more, how can they find out more? How can they get a ticket? Where can they find you?
Okay, so oh god, I'm available on every social media platform there is, bar TikTok. Don't do TikTok. But if you go to the website that's in my background here, tu-be-24.com, that's our website. You can find me on Facebook. You can find the Ultimate Experience Birmingham on Eventbrite. That's where we're running the tickets as well. Yeah, LinkedIn, I'm on there as well. And people can get hold of me very easily.
Well, I did. I managed to speak to you. So.
Yeah. Infamous, I think, is the word I've got now.
No, thank you. Thank you. I will put the information underneath this video on YouTube. I will put any information I can find. But if anyone is unsure at all and they can't find Matt, reach out to me. I can, point you in the right direction. But no, thank you. That has been an amazing and inspiring conversation. And I know that this event is going to be incredible and incredibly inspiring. The last conference that I ran in North Devon, there was Rani Bora was one of our speakers who has been doing a lot of work with Ankush Jain, and the difference in her and the amazingness in the beautiful feeling in that room, with bringing together a really deep spiritual understanding of who you are, and then this idea of being. The two things are just, when they come together, it's like you know, amazing stuff. So I'm really, really excited for this, excited for what's coming. So thank you very much for your time today, Matt. Thank you for
Good, it's a pleasure.
and telling me about you and this event and everything. And thank you.
All good.